Monti Ossenfort, general manager of the Arizona Cardinals, spoke to Arizona Sports 98.7 FM earlier this morning. He got us a little insight on how he feels about the trade deadline, how Kyler Murray has played so far, and how he feels about the 2024 Arizona Cardinals. Let's get started. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into another video. Definitely do me a huge favor, smack up that like button and subscribe for more Arizona Cardinals content. On this channel, we're covering the Arizona Cardinals throughout the entirety of the 2024 season, so subscribe it up. It's absolutely for free. All right, everybody, let's go and dive right into it. Let's talk about what general manager Monti Ossenfort has to say about the 2024 Arizona Cardinals. Now, huge shout out here to Arizona Sports here. They did actually a really good job here interviewing him. And of course, because of the trade deadline looming and what's currently going on with the inconsistencies of the Arizona Cardinals, it was really good to hear from Monti Ossenfort, general manager. And this is the highlights of what he had to say. I'm pretty sure they're going to be putting the full interview on there. I definitely highly recommend you go over to their YouTube page and check it out. Very, very good, insightful interview. But let's go and get started here. I got 4 different clips that we want to kind of dive into. One of them has to do with obviously how he feels about Kyler Murray, how he feels about the team, and then the trade deadline, as a whole. So let's get started here with the first clip in terms of how he feels about the 2024 Arizona Cardinals.
Last 3 weeks have kind of been up and down. He had the San Francisco win, but then obviously the Green Bay loss last week. What are you seeing from your team as far as is it kind of being inconsistent lately?
Yeah, and I think really, Luke, you hit the nail on the head there. It's just the inconsistency, and hey, it's frustrating for all of us. We've had some good moments, and we've had some times when we played complementary football, all 3 phases. And, we've had times where it hasn't gone that way, and we've gotten down, and, the game changes. You get down by 2-3 scores, and all of a sudden, the game changes offensively, the game changes defensively, and when we have those ups and downs, and when we have some self-inflicted wounds, and when we're playing good teams, that's tough to recover from. And so this league can be very humbling. And so, we have to get back to, executing on our end, taking care of the things that we can control, and really ironing out those inconsistencies so that when we play 3 phases complementary, we've shown that we can win close games, we can play good teams, and we can compete with anyone at a high level. But when we don't do those things, things are going to go the wrong way, and we found that out 2 of the last 3 weeks.
Well, as you can tell, the biggest frustration here from Monti Ossenfort is obviously the inconsistencies of what we've seen so far in 2024. Now, the big thing that kind of sticks out to me is that he actually feels like the Cardinals are, a team that can, step up toe-to-toe with any of the teams that are on the NFL. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the Cardinals are going to win any of these games, but he does say that we've seen a sample size that we should show more consistencies, right? And the fact that we're seeing inconsistent play, especially I think he's talking about obviously the Green Bay Packers game as well as the Commanders game. Those are games that literally got away from the Cardinals. You blinked your eye and the Cardinals were down so bad that, we kind of had to change the offensive game plan. Now, there's definitely no excuse in terms of what has happened, because we don't want to see losses like that ever again in the 2024 season. But with what he said in terms of the inconsistencies is definitely something that I've been talking about. We don't know what team's coming out here on Sundays, right? And I think that kind of leaves a level of frustration. I don't think fans would be as upset as they are right now if we didn't have 2 out of the 6 games being blowouts. The Cardinals fan base wouldn't be upset, if we lost against the Green Bay Packers, if it was a 7-point game, a 10-point game. But the fact that we lost by 21 points and it almost kind of seemed like the game was already out of hand heading into the half, that's where the frustrations of fans come from, right? In terms of we need to make the right progressive steps. Now, the good thing is that hopefully they're getting in front of it. Right now, we do have, I believe, 11 games left. We are already done with 6 games in the season, and they got time to correct it. It's just they need to get it done. Now, I want to double down here in what he said about the frustrations and how he feels about it as the general manager of the Arizona Cardinals, and this is what he said.
I think really, Wolf, it's really the overall inconsistency of our club that we have to do better at. That's all of us collectively as a front office, as a coaching staff, as players. We have to find a way to even out the ups and the downs, because we have had some really good moments, and we've beaten 2 good teams, and we've went toe to toe with 2 other teams that are really sitting at the top of their divisions, and then we've had 2 games that haven't gone our way, and and that's what happens when you don't don't bring your A game in the NFL on a Sunday, like you're gonna get humbled really quickly. And so for us, the frustrating part of it has been the inconsistency. So, that's been a focus of ours. It's going to continue to be a focus of ours throughout the rest of the season. And, that's what we're going to strive for, because when we're firing on all cylinders, we've shown that we can play with and beat some of the best in the league.
Honestly, I'm actually really happy that we're starting to kind of hear some sort of, I wouldn't say fire, but some sort of truth when it comes down to this Cardinals organization. And this is no, knock on what Jonathan Gannon is doing. I definitely respect what he's doing. And obviously, he wants to keep things in-house, right? He wants to keep things positive. He wants to make sure that everybody in this locker room knows that, hey, they can turn it around. And if you look at it, we do got more games, ahead of us right now. Now, I do understand that there's some Cardinal fans out there that feel like the season's already over. We're going to win 4 or 5 games, right? We've already heard it in the comments below, but if you really think about it here, we got 11 games left in the 2024 season. They can turn it around, but a frustration that they're dealing with, right, in terms of, this front office is the fact that they need to be consistent, right? And he actually said he needs to be consistent as a whole organization. He's not talking about offense. He's not talking about defense. He's not talking about just about coaching staff. He's talking about the front office as well. So Monti Ossenfort, kudos for you for saying that, because honestly, I think this organization needs a wake-up call, right? Yes, this is a year 2 in Jonathan Gannon, but we need to change the culture, and we need to change into a winning culture, because we can't let the season get away from us. We absolutely can't. Please, please, please do everything in your power to win on Monday night, because the Cardinals fan base and this Cardinals organization truly needs it. Now let's talk about here and what his thoughts are on Kyler Murray and how his play has transpired here in the 2024 season. This is what Monti Ossenfort had to say.
Because he hasn't played poorly, but also the record is 2-4, and a lot of that always seems to come back on the quarterback. Just interested in what your evaluation is of Kyler through the first 6 weeks.
Yeah, and I'd say, Luke, it kind of echoes exactly what we've been talking about here. Kyler's had some good moments. He's made some big plays. He's had some explosive plays with his arms and his legs, and he's had some plays that obviously he'd like to have back, and some things that we could do better. And so, whether it's Kyler or, our offense collectively as a group, we have to do a better job of sustaining drives, possessing the ball, creating explosive plays, and then, ultimately putting points on the board. And that's what it's all about. And so, Kyler's a big part of that. And so, we got to get improved play out of him. We got to get improved play out of our line, our receivers, our backs. It all goes into us ultimately putting points on the board. And so, as it pertains to Kyler, I think it's the same for him as it is for the rest of our team. Just iron out consistencies and perform at a higher level, just at a higher rate.
Now, I've been one of those guys out there that said that the blame goes everywhere, right? And that's Drew Petzing, everybody on the offensive side of the ball, scheme, as well as players. I truly feel like if the Cardinals want to get better and they want to show a consistency, everybody needs to look at themselves in the mirror. And I mean, everybody needs to look at themselves in the mirror, including Kyler Murray. Now, when I hear Monti Ossenfort talk about Kyler Murray, you can obviously tell that he doesn't want to say anything too drastic. But honestly, if you think about it, Kyler Murray has not had a bad year statistically when you're looking at his numbers. But when it comes down to it, is he really elevating this offense to a point of, we're going to be better with the franchise quarterback in Kyler Murray? Now, remember last year we had a lot of the same conversations in terms of losing games that we shouldn't have lost. And we said things to ourselves like, oh man, if we had Kyler Murray, we would have, won this game. But there was a post that was posted here on Twitter here. Definitely shout out here to Chuck Harris for putting this together here. He ended up kind of, comparing weeks 1 through 6 from Josh Dobbs as well as week 1 through 6 from Kyler Murray. And the numbers are pretty similar when it comes down to, are we getting that extra $40 million talent, right? Now, you can't put that all on Kyler Murray. I've never once said this is all on Kyler Murray's fault. No, of course not. This is all on scheme. This is Drew Petzing. This is Kyler Murray. This is the offensive line. This is wide receivers. This is tight ends. This is everybody. But like I said before, in order for them to get better, everybody needs to look at themselves in the mirror and actually figure out a fix to figure out what is happening in these third down efficiencies and making our offense look to be that bright spot that we were promised we were supposed to be into the 2024 season. They didn't just flat out ask, are we interested? They ended up saying, does these next 2 games really hold a big value in terms of, are we going to be buyers? Are we going to be sellers? Are the Cardinals just going to sit pat, right? So this is very, very informative. This is what Monti Ossenfort had to say.
Talking to Monti Ossenfort, Monti, as we get close to early November with the trade deadline, I know there's still a couple games left before then, but how do you approach that? Are you focused specifically on what happens in these next 2 games? Does that impact your philosophy on November 5th, or is it kind of already working?
Yeah, Luke, I think with the trade deadline just around the league in general, I think a lot of conversations happen and really a lot of them end up being more exploratory than actual action. And I think as with anything, there needs to be two parties that agree to the trade, right? And so, I think a lot of teams are looking at that and making conversation or having conversations, and that'll continue here for the next couple of weeks until the deadline here in early November. So, as with anything that we do, it's got to be a situation that makes sense for us. The cost of it versus not doing the deal versus doing the deal, and so those are all conversations that we'll continue to have and see if it makes sense for us to go down a road. And so that's certainly a part of the league year that's coming up here. It's the same for everybody, and so those conversations will continue here over the next couple of weeks.
Now, of course, there's different levels of obviously building out your team, whether it's the trade deadline, free agency, the draft. It does feel like Monti Ossenfort really does favor the draft with draft picks. At least that's what we've been seeing here with the tenure of Monti Ossenfort. And I know there's a level of frustration growing amongst the fan base because it does kind of feel like the Cardinals front office is sitting on their hands and not really doing much to evolve this Arizona Cardinal defense, especially that defensive line, when everybody's been raving and jumping on their soapbox saying things like we need to get somebody in the edge position to cause consistent pressure to the opposing quarterback, and this front office hasn't yet to do that, right? Now, what does that tell me? Are the Cardinals waiting to see what this organization is, what this 2024 team is? Probably, right? It does feel like this whole conservative way of the way Monti Ossenfort in this front office has worked so far is it looks like they're waiting and seeing what's going on for the rest of the 2024 season. Now, if any thoughts of you want to get all these, talks of these rumors about, Budda Baker being traded, if you don't like those talks, then honestly, the Cardinals need to win because there is still a sense of the Cardinals are still in this, right? They are a win away from being 3-4. And then on top of that, they're a win away from being at 500. And the good thing that we got going for us right now, that the NFC West, our division that we play in, number one team is the San Francisco 49ers that are sitting at 3-3, in their division. So they're literally one win away from the Cardinals being at the number one spot. So there is still a chance that the Cardinals can, somehow get a win and go back into the number one spot in the division. But the number one thing is that they got to take care of business. That's the number one thing that the Cardinals need to do. They got to take care of business. And where have I said the Cardinals are a Super Bowl bound team? But the number one things that you want to see in year two of Jonathan Gannon is progress. And that means consistent play from our quarterback, consistent play from our offense, consistent play from our defense. Or do you feel like the front office is basically sitting back and waiting to see what the Cardinals are going to do in the next two games? Let me know in the comments below. I appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. Have a great rest of your day and go Cardinals.